Let's talk about the 911 being such a personal machine to people, as if it's their own. There's almost an ownership to that design.
Yeah, which is a compliment to the 911 and to the brand, because people identify themselves with that car. And if you go back all the way to 1963, I mean, the first outcry was when the 356 was replaced by the, at the time, 901, that then had to change to 911. And ever since, people were, sort of pessimistic that something might go away if they renew that icon of our brand, be it the air-cooled technology, and then doing away with the internal combustion engine, and then introducing the turbo technology to all the cars. And now we have this transition into everything digital. So I think that's one of our biggest challenges, to actually manage expectations and manage a good balance between the tradition of that car being an icon and the innovation that people, of course, require that car to live up to.
Every generation there's something different that people really hang on to, whether it's air-cooled or now the full digitization. How do you as a brand manage that?
Well, of course, when we talk about innovation, we look at trends. Now, connectivity for a car is really important, so is safety. And you can't shy away from that, because at one point of time, that is a hygienic factor. So people do not say, I bought it because of that, but they wouldn't buy it if it wouldn't have it. So these are the first things that we need to incorporate in any package of a new car. Now take the wet mode that is new for the new 911. This is a safety feature that is brand new to the industry. It's like a microphone that sits in your wheelhouse, and it can tell on whether there's a lot of water or little water, and it adjusts your stabilizers and your shock absorbers and your drivetrain and everything, so the car is more responsive when you need it to be more responsive, and it gets safer. So something like that, of course, changes the characteristics of the car, but at the same time it increases safety. And as long as it stays true to its DNA, Porsche, and it truly behaves like a sports car that you want the 911 to be, people appreciate that type of technology.
Yeah, and how do you ride that fine line between advancement and being true to the heritage?
By giving people choice. I give you another example: Porsche stability management. That's the technology that keeps you in a straight line if you tend to lose control of your car.
Yeah.
You can switch it off in the car. So if you are on a racetrack and you say, well, but I love my car swinging left and right when I go around corners, and I can control that, you can. So we're giving people choice. If you take this to the next level when it comes to talking about autonomous drive mode, many people say, well, Porsche and autonomous drive mode, that defeats the object. That's ridiculous. No, it's not. Porsche customers will always want it all. So they want to have autonomous drive mode when they want it. And they want to have that steering wheel, those pedals, when they want it. They want to engage. And so that's really, if you keep the customer center of attention, then this is how we try and keep that balance and stay on that thin line.
Yeah. I talked to you one time, and I didn't get it on camera, and I want to get this on camera. Where will autonomous driving be important to a Porsche owner?
That's a simple answer. When it's no fun to drive yourself, which is traffic jams, which is a routine drive, which is when you prioritize working over engaging with a car, driving yourself. That's where autonomous drive mode will come in handy. And many people talk about the autonomous drive mode as something completely new and as something revolutionary, but it's not. With the introduction of cruise control, that was the first step of autonomous drive mode, and then lane assist, and lane keeping assist, and parking assist. We're slowly but surely progressing into something that takes away the burden of keeping control all the time yourself. And the autonomous drive mode, due to the IT technology and everything else that needs to be taken care of in the future, we're going to see that. And it's the same for Porsche customers. They want to have the choice to have that too.
Yeah. What about educational purposes? Like if you're on a racetrack, could you use it as this will show you the best way around a particular circuit?
Yeah, we call that the Mark Webber app. So you can actually tell the car now, drive that racetrack as if you were Mark Webber. And then you sit in the car and the car shows you how to most efficiently and the fastest way possible manage that track. So that's an app that we are developing at the moment.
Switching even further into the future, obviously electrification. You know, whether it be, say, a hybrid version of the 911 and then the upcoming Taycan. How do you pivot as a company with so much heritage in performance and, you know, the flat six engine and all that? Is this a chance for you folks to really do something different and step outside?
I think customers will have to decide on that, on whether we really, stepped outside of what they expected. What they expect is, if it's a battery electric vehicle, it has to live up to the brand promise. It has to show that it's DNA Porsche. It has to be worthy carrying that crest. Be it in acceleration, deceleration, and of course multiple acceleration, deceleration. Be it on a racetrack, where you just take the car to the limit and see what it does there, whether it responds the way Porsche do, because that's where they come from. So I think you have to stay true to your brand promise, and then people will accept it. There's an element missing, which is the sound of an engine, of a combustion engine. But I've driven the Taycan, and I can tell you, yes, at the very beginning, it's somewhat weird not to have that sound, but have this incredible acceleration. But it's actually even more impressive if you don't have the sound and you're being accelerated as if you're being pulled by a rubber band that just endlessly pulls you forward. It's really mind-blowing. And that's why I think people, if people start driving the car, it's going to change the way they think about battery electric vehicles, and it's going to be a game changer then.
Yeah. Do you think that will change Porsche as a company doing electrification?
It for sure will change the company. Will it substantially change the company? No, not if we manage it the right way. But let me give you an example. If you go ahead now, let's go 5 years from now. We will have many electric cars out there. Now, factors that we today use to compare cars against each other, such as 0 to 60 top speed, they will be irrelevant. So that's a change for the car industry, generally speaking, because any electric car in a certain segment will be below 3 seconds. A top speed is not really relevant because from a battery and electric point of view, a top speed does not really make sense for a car like that. And you can't use top speed in this country anyway.
Right.
So that is part of the transition of this industry. So other factors will become more important: customer experience, innovation, connectivity, design. So it's something that will change the industry. Will it completely turn it upside down? No, I don't think so. As long as we stay on top of things, managing that change, meeting customers' expectations or exceeding them, I think we're in good shape.
How many Taycans do you think you can produce annually? Have you broken that down? And it seems to me that it doesn't matter how many you can produce. Every one of those is going to be snapped up instantly. It's a new beginning for Porsche.
Yeah.
How will you manage the allocation of those cars?
Oh, good question. Well, first of all, our announcement is that we are going to produce 20,000. That's our capacity per year globally. Now, obviously, there is some headroom for that. If the reception in the markets globally is much better than what we originally defined at the very beginning of the project when we announced the 20,000, obviously, we can produce some more. And we're not talking about the overall number that we can achieve, but I think we would not be intelligent if we would have stopped at that number. Now, the resonance that we currently see, we have since 4 months, we have a landing site where you can register. on the internet, and you can go to a dealer and place a deposit to show your sincere interest in the car. And what we currently see is positively surprising. So we are very confident that something that you just presumed might happen, that at least in the first 1 or 2 years we will have a supply problem and not a demand problem, is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, just for the fact that many Porsche owners are collectors.
Yeah.
And to have the first of something,
Yeah.
it seems to me that would be 20,000 right there.
Let's see what happens in the future, but I can give you one example that also was very surprising to us. Now, having all these people signing up to become part of the journey that is now becoming more concrete until we actually show the final car at the end of next year. We're looking at the data. Where do they come from? What do they drive today? Are they male, female? How young? How old are they? And one stat that was very surprising to us is that far more than 50% actually have not owned a Porsche and are currently not driving a Porsche. So it's not these collectors that say, I need this car immediately. It's people who say, hey, Porsche is bringing out a battery electric vehicle. I want one of these. So they show their sincere interest. They put down a deposit. And the other thing is that so far, typically, we were amongst the shopping list for people with Porsche. They would also have a BMW, Audi, and Mercedes on there. Now, the biggest proportional brand on that list is Tesla.
I would imagine.
Which is interesting for us, and it just shows that people who engaged with Tesla at an early point, they showed some curiosity and interest in a new way of driving technology. And curiosity obviously doesn't stop. So they now say, oh, there's another brand coming up with, let's see how that drives. I think the demand for that car is yet to be seen, but we can be very optimistic.
Obviously, things are changing quite a bit with the company. Where do you see it in 10 years? Will it be relatively the same? Are you going to be still targeting the same type of buyers, the same type of emotion, the same type of design? I mean, isn't that what makes the company so successful in the first place?
I think there's certain things that will stay solid and the same, which is innovation, design, driving our product offering. But our product offering will be a lot more than just the car. We're going to see mobility concepts coming up. People will not commit to a car purchase in the future, a certain fraction of those. 25 years ago, people talked about leasing, and everybody said, why would I lease a car? I can finance the car. But leasing now is like 40 to 50% of our business. Now, mobility or subscription model that we're just piloting in Atlanta is something that might go down the same street, that people actually say, no, I don't see why I should sign up for a car for 3 years and then I only have one car. Why can't I sign up for something for a month and I have the choice of all the derivatives that brand has got on offer? So that's going to change, I think, our business model, that we will actually have big car parks, fleets of cars, and we dispose those. We create an access to the brand that is short-term and completely flexible. And that requires a lot of adjustment in our brains, in our structures, in our business models. We're going to incorporate our dealer partners in there because they will be the facilitators of that service. So I think from that point of view, that's going to be very different going forward. And obviously the finances will then be different because you cannot sell a car for $100,000. You will just get some monthly fee. Yeah. For that car. So that's also going to be very interesting. How do we manage those cash flows that are of a completely different latitude?
But don't you think with a brand that's as emotional as yours, that people will want to own it?
There will certainly always be people that want to own it. I mean, I'm not worried about that, but I don't want to. Now, let's be conservative. It's only 10 to 20% that would want that service. I wouldn't want to give up on 10 to 20%, especially not if other premium car manufacturers offer that, and we don't. So, competition will sort that out. And since artificial intelligence helps us driving those business models such as subscription in a more efficient way than in former times, I think it's going to be part of our business model. And we can't shy away from that because somebody's going to do it, and we much rather be ahead of the curve here.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Always fun to talk.